Hey everybody, John Greenwald here with theblackvault.com. So if you haven't heard and you are into the UFO topic, and I know a lot of you are, tomorrow will be the first congressional hearing on UFOs, or Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, or UAP as they now want to call them, the first hearing in more than 50 years. That is amazing news, something I'm super excited about, and I'll get to why I'm also realistic in addition to excited, but I think that this is a huge milestone. And so if you have not heard, that hearing is going to take place tomorrow, May 17th. At this point, at the recording of this video, because they changed the time just a couple hours ago from what I understand, it's going to start tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. Now that's 6 a.m. my time here in California. Now I set up a page on theblackvault.com. If you are watching this on YouTube right now, you can go ahead and look at the link below. I may throw this out on the audio stream as well, the podcast version of the Black Vault, just to make sure everybody is updated on this, because it is a huge development. So if you're listening to an audio version of this, just go to www.theblackvault.com, and that will show you one of the most recent pages for watching the hearing live. Now, I set up my own page for this reason. They are streaming it on YouTube through the Congressional Committee's webpage. However, if the stream breaks for any reason, I'm planning ahead that page will be updated in essentially real time by me. I'll be sitting here waiting to update it. Just refresh it. That way you don't have to worry about trying to figure out where the stream might be or what's going on. I will try and keep all of that updated for you and on the page, including maybe some other videos as well, or some surprises. I will, as long as nothing big happens, in the sense technologically speaking on my end, likely will be live streaming shortly after the hearing itself, and hopefully opening up the phone lines and stuff like that and having some fun. So that's why that page is there. So again, go to www.theblackvault.com and it will shoot you right to it. Now, question is, what are we supposed to expect? And I'll be honest with you, I get that asked a lot here in the last week since the story broke. And I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to have any answer for you here on this one, but happy to just kind of put some thoughts out there initially. When I first heard about it, I was pretty excited about the idea of this hearing, but in the same respect, realistic, as I said earlier. And the reason why I said realistic is we have to understand what exactly we are dealing with. And beyond any shadow of a doubt, we know that the UAP topic, what is going on right now, is not only of great interest, but also on top of that, highly classified. There is a lot of secrecy around this, and I know a lot of people want to say that secrecy is lessening. I'm here to tell you that from my experience and vantage point through the Freedom of Information Act and legal ways to access this information, it has strengthened. And it is not lessening. Now, we are hearing about it more, and that's fantastic. But that's where I say we have to be realistic, because that secrecy is still there. And when I talk about the secrecy, especially since late last year, I reference something that is called the Security Classification Guide on UAP. Essentially what this is any particular topic has to have proper authorization for it to be classified, meaning they can't write a document and go, I'll call this top secret. Rather, there are procedures and manuals on how to define secrecy levels, why they have the secrecy, what channels they go to, whose authority is it under, so on and so forth. And I, just through kind of a gut feeling 2 years ago, whatever it was, felt that with all of this talk, that there would be a guide on UAP. It was later then revealed in the media that it likely existed, but it never got released. I got it through FOIA, and it was very telling on how secretive UAP information is. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, interestingly, the man who approved it, let me pull up the screen here, I tweeted this out last week for those of you who follow me on social media. The man who approved it, this man here, is Scott Bray. He is the director of Naval Intelligence Activity, and he will be the one that is testifying, one of two people testifying at the hearing tomorrow. Now, he's the one that approved this guide. So what I just went over with the security classification guide, here is that actual cover page. And there is a lot in this manual that is completely classified and that they will not release. I was able to get a heavily redacted version out, but sadly, it really tells you very little. I invite you to look at that. It's in the show notes on the podcast version or here on YouTube. Just go ahead and look below and you will see a link directly to that security classification guide. So that's the guy that he's going to be on Capitol Hill tomorrow testifying. Here is the signature page as proof of what I'm talking about. He approved that document. I do believe I know who these names are. Well, not the reviewer. I take that back. But prepared by, likely through ONI, but still trying to essentially work on that, and we'll see if that ever comes to light. So we have some guesses on who prepared it, but rather the approval is the man who is testifying tomorrow. So what does that mean? In my opinion, the man who says we should have the level of secrecy around UAP that we do is going to be the one answering questions in a public hearing. And I think with that fact, we have to understand that he will do everything and anything in his power to keep it as general and vague as he can. And the reason why I say that is he doesn't want to declassify this material. Obviously, he approves and supports the secrecy surrounding it. So as vague and as general as they can keep it, that is what they are going to do. Now, Ronald Moultrie, who is the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, he is going to be testifying as well. And obviously, he's in a high enough position where secrecy just comes along with the job. But Bray is the one that approved that secrecy, and I think that he will try and maintain it. I think they're going to surround, obviously, the incursions on military installations, and they will probably use that T word that not many people like, threat, many, many times. Drones may come up, or they will kind of generalize everything, and I hope Congress pushes back if they do. And the reason is because out of the 144 cases that we know that they investigated through the report released last year to the public and echoed in the classified version that I got partially released earlier this year, out of those 144 UAP cases, they could only identify one, and that was a deflating balloon. So we can argue drones or adversarial technology or even classified technology, and I'm taking a jab at some of the things that I've said myself over the last couple of years, and I still stand by it, by the way. But even classified technology, according to them, could not peg a single case to any of those definitions. So if you start touting that in a public hearing, and if Congress has done their homework, they need to push back and say, wait a minute, you guys are touting these likely theories, yet you could not peg a single case other than that one deflating balloon as any of them. And so they're going to be put a little bit in a bind at that point, meaning the witnesses, Scott Bray and Moultrie, that they're going to have to respond to. That's if Congress decides to push the issue. But again, I think they're going to stick very broadly speaking and generally speaking. Now, if pushed, if the committee does what they should do and really push these issues, then I think what we're going to hear a lot of is I can speak to that more in a classified setting or in the closed session. Now, I'm one of those geeks that actually likes to watch these hearings. And when you know that there was going to be a classified session following a public hearing, then you hear that phrasing a lot. And I fear that if the committee does start to push, they will start hearing that. Now, how do committees react when they hear that? And to be honest with you, they essentially accept it. We will see if anybody doesn't want to accept the shielding of the general public from this information that may encroach into classified arenas. We'll see how much they will push. I don't know. Generally, they don't. I mean, this is kind of a bipartisan, nonpartisan, I should say, issue, meaning no real one side of the aisle is pushing it more than the other. So there's not really a vendetta from, let's say, the right side of the aisle or the left side of the aisle where Republicans will maybe bash the witnesses or Democrats will bash the witnesses versus the other side, as you do in other types of more partisan debates. So this could just be universally accepted, that it stays general, stays broad. The public hears kind of what we did last year with very broad-stroked comments, albeit interesting nonetheless, and very, very important. That's the realistic way to approach this, that they're probably not going to just bow down and go, okay, Congress, we admit it's extraterrestrial. And I think some people secretly have that, and even openly have that desire that we are paving the way here for some type of disclosure. Quite the opposite. They will keep that in a classified arena, and we'll see how that committee approaches it and accepts it. And in many cases, they just do, because they're not dodging the question. They're just putting it into a closed session and a classified setting, which we know on the schedule follows the public hearing. So we already know that's there. That's not me just kind of making that up. That is confirmed that they have a closed session after the public hearing. So I think they're going to utilize that. They'll keep it behind closed doors. And Congress just doesn't have the open authority to, once they hear something in a classified setting, come out to the microphones and stand in front of the cameras and go, this is what we heard. I mean, certainly they sometimes talk about it, generally speaking, and maybe we'll get some gems from that, but they don't violate security oaths and clearances and classified information themselves. So this may stay locked up primarily. And I don't fear that per se. I expect that. And I don't think that we should just go, oh, this is a waste of time. Because even though we have to deal with that part in a realistic sense, we also have to accept the triumph that after decades of secrecy and clear representation by irrefutable evidence of a cover-up, Congress is finally looking at this going, okay, let's get some people in here. Let's start asking questions. And one of those questions is likely going to be, how are you guys handling it? And although a lot of that information, if you've paid attention, is kind of public right now, hopefully they'll give a glimpse to exactly the extent that they're going to, exactly who they may be talking to. Will they have any visuals or any, show and tell type? I highly doubt it. I could be pleasantly surprised, but I doubt it. I think, again, they will keep it generally speaking, but only time will tell. So I look forward to watching all of this with you guys and hopefully joining you on the YouTube channel for the Black Vault after the hearing tomorrow. And if you want to keep updated on those channel notifications for YouTube, just go to theblackvault.com/live. That will bounce you to the YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed and make sure that you help the channel out by clicking the thumbs up button if you do like the videos and the content that you see there. So thank you for that. And of course, I'll drop this to the podcast stream as well. So if you're listening on audio, reviews always help. It really helps with the rankings. That way more people can keep updated as you are doing yourself. This is John Greenwald Jr. signing off, and we'll see you after those hearings.